Soft porn.
I mean, I like being on video. I feel like it brings more, fun to the table. But so, well, let's just get this meeting started. So KYC. We have a great agenda. It's basically the same agenda as last week. No, Jeff spices it up, man. I really appreciate the work he puts into this. But I didn't put any work into it. So
copy and paste.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh no, and I deleted the. I tried to copy paste something and it just got deleted. The project roadmap.
Control Z.
Yeah, I guess so. Let's see.
It's a lot of Control Z.
Yeah, but luckily we can Control Shift Z and bring it back. And copy. And okay, I just wanted to move it to the bottom because this is how I want to end by a deep dive into the roadmap doc.
Cool.
But yeah, so KYC with Coach B. I did give him a full review of the text for a KYC process. It's pretty bad, so I'm glad that they are going to give us a new website so that we can have kind of a custom wording, because it's not a token sale. They're missing all sorts of it's definitely maybe they did this once, and they didn't. There was spelling errors, all sorts of things. So so yeah, and it's not going to look pretty, but at least the content will match what we need it to be. And I got an email that denied me from the KYC, and then another email that was like, actually, you're cool. So, and if I remember right, I forwarded it to some of you guys.
Yeah, I saw it. Hopefully they don't do that to the people who are actually funding us.
Give us money.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it's because I'm from the U.S. and everyone else will get rejected in the U.S. So,
someone's ringing at my door. I'll be back in a second.
Okay.
So, is that they said it was a mistake? So that won't happen in the future, or we cannot collect donations from U.S. citizens?
I don't think we can collect I don't think it would be wise of us to allow U.S. citizens to go through the KYC process. However, or to pass the KYC process. However, we can collect donations, but they would be actual donations with no whitelist. At least that's how I see it. The only exception I would like to make is Luke, but Lorelai's not into it. So, and he's not going to put too much money in anyway. So.
So he's not allowed to put money in,
but as an advisor,
to make a return. Yeah. But we can put him on with our free amount, and that's what he gets. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And I was thinking of upping the amount to a full membership, to 10,000. So then it's like he gets one membership. And our advisors have been pretty awesome. So.
Was he at a half advisor level or something before?
No, everyone was at a half membership as an advisor. They just get 5K instead of 10. But I kind of wanted to just give them 10K. I mean, it's not like it affects us really. It just raises the amount that the default is from 10 million to 10 million and 20K. So it's and if we have a full membership, we might as well just give them a full membership. I feel like makes more sense.
Wait, what's the 10 million number you're talking about?
10 million is the total cap, assuming that we raise our cap and we have the maximum
cap, we would start refusing money at 10 mil.
No, we would start refusing money at 7 mil, but there's the tech whitelist, which is the cap of the hatching. So the tech whitelist has these multipliers. So if people donate to us before $1 million, they get a 2.5 multiplier.
Okay.
So then
I see.
7 mil is the cap of donations.
Got it.
It's about 10 mil as a cap, as the maximum with multipliers for the tech whitelist. And that's all in the roadmap, actually, that we can go through.
Okay, cool. Do you think that there's anyone else who's gonna join the roadmap read through at 7?
I doubt it. I mean, I would love if Max came, but I doubt it.
Just in between, because you guys are talking about money, and I want to bring back the reason why we're doing this. I just like the people at the door. So you guys, when you were here, maybe I mentioned like the building across my street is actually where refugees are coming into Belgium and like are like welcome for the first time. And actually, when I opened the door, there were like a bunch of kids and someone from that center to just give me a little plant. They were giving to all the neighbors a little plant to thank us for being the neighbors and for just tolerating them. And I was like, I've got goosebumps. I was like, wow, thank you so much. So
Cool.
yeah, it was super crazy. Okay, whatever. Let's get back to the meeting. Just wanted to say that.
Heartwarming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really hard.
Thank you for that.
They even made a drawing.
Oh,
We need to do that for our neighbors at the Giveth House, by the way.
Yeah, you should.
We need to be like extra cordial to these guys.
Super.
And to the people that are in the back that yelled at us.
Yeah, those for sure.
Okay, so next topic after KYC, unless anyone has any issues there.
I have a question, Griff, actually, about KYC and so on, and it's probably been answered before and I missed it. But I was watching a talk about like blockchains, and that as soon as you have KYC and AML, etc., that you're not really working in the blockchain world anymore. And I was wondering, like, why was the decision taken to bring the default world in that much? Because it also puts us at risk. It's a really stupid question, probably, but
No, it's not a stupid question at all. I mean, what we're doing is it's a very interesting model where it's not permissionless. It is permissionless at one point, but to start, it's not. So like we have this this piece where we're building a community around a cause, and we give advantage to whitelist. And so because we're starting with this permissioned thing at the beginning of who can buy tokens at 10 cents, they have to jump through some hoops and be approved to be experts in that cause. It's a closed circle. So we need to do KYC to prevent, well, for two reasons. Number one, because it's permissioned. And so if we don't do KYC, then there could be problems with the SEC on like all that stuff, right? And like governments can come after us if we use their cattle inappropriately. And then that's basically the main thing, is just to protect ourselves as an organizing force, that we don't cross the boundaries that some countries lay for their people, because we have a permission layer.
So in some way it protects us, but in another way it also puts us at risk, because if they find a way, one of those governments, or we breach one of their rules, then we're fucked.
Well, it's part of the design, though. The design has this permission layer of like, if we let investors come in that don't care about the token engineering commons, then the commons will not be a success, because the people with governance tokens won't vote, So like, because the design requires a permissioned layer, we don't really have a choice.
Because like solutions like Bright ID and others are just not ready yet to like provide the identity that could make it so that we can track the people.
Bright ID only does Sybil resistance, so it doesn't allow you to have actual identity of people. IDEN 3 does as well, but even IDEN 3 would require a KYC, because anything that has this like, oh, we let in these people but not those people, will have this legal issue. Even if we did it in a decentralized way, like the different centralized authorities that we would allow to prop up, yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be able to get away with this either way. And it's really for the DAO doing its own KYC later, and for other projects that want to do this, later. But so far in our poll, not many people were that against KYC. I think it was like not even 10%. We're like,
Okay.
no, I'm not going to do KYC.
Okay, cool. Got it. Makes sense. Thanks for the explanation.
Yeah, no, it's good. ABC hatch numbers. So these haven't changed. I don't know. Does anyone have any questions about it, or do we push forward?
I am hoping to meet up with Abby. Unfortunately, she pushed our meeting today as well, but hopefully I'm going to catch her Sunday morning. And I still have on my list to go over these numbers with her.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I think the last time we had a meeting, you were on your way to meet with her as well. Did that happen?
No.
So, I mean, like, do you have anything on Abby right now, or?
I mean, it just seemed like she's got one thing after another. I was supposed to meet with her today at 4 p.m. EST with Z, and I just said we wanted to sync up and catch up and basically get back on the same page, and said, yeah, about narrative and about articles and about, these numbers and everything. And yeah, unfortunately, it seems like she's just got conflicting plans. So she said Sunday morning, so I'm going to reschedule something after this call, and hopefully we can catch her then.
Well, I would love to get on that meeting.
Sure.
If you still have it with Z this afternoon.
Oh yeah, yeah. I wrote him, so I said Abby couldn't come, but we should still chat. And it sounded like he said he's on a train before that. Oh, so hopefully he'll be caught up. So yeah, I think 4 p.m. So 1 p.m. for you. I'll send you an invite.
That would be awesome. I might be on the road, but that still would be really good, because I really need him to confirm the block science numbers and stuff in the roadmap.
Okay. Adding you now.
Cool. So let's see. July on-site discussion. Is there anything that needs to be discussed on that?
Not on my end. Lorelai?
No. Okay. Next move. Narrative, launch plan, fundraising document, organization. I want to jump in on this. Well,
yep.
I'll let you take it. But
I mean, I'm just working on it over the weekend. I hope to have this as done as possible early next week. A lot of it is the sort of art stuff. Just that I don't really want to send it out to advisors and whatnot, looking very sketchy. But yeah, I'm hoping to fill in the rest of the info this weekend. And Lorelai and I have a call with Amy in a couple of hours. And hopefully she can turn those diagrams into something a little bit more professional looking, just so we can send it out as a first draft to advisors and early interested members, I suppose.
Yeah, and Marco had someone too. I don't know if you want to try double time on this.
I would, except we're spread across North America, European, and Korea time zone. And also he wasn't available until next week to talk. So I just figured if Amy was ready Friday and Lorelai is ready to step in and help move that forward, then we'll start there. And if it doesn't work out, we can continue finding other options.
Yeah, I think Amy's definitely the better option. I just feel bad for Marco. Like, I feel like he might feel excluded if we don't start playing with start accepting some of his input, and he's a valuable input on these things. So
yeah, I mean, I'm more than happy to send some stuff his way. I just wasn't able to meet with him until next
followed
week.
Up. It sounds like you followed up already and already know the laydown, so I'm glad. So
yeah, maybe we can pursue him or his designer for future stuff. I just want to make sure we're being timely on this urgent documentation.
Yeah,
Definitely.
you made the right move for sure.
Absolutely. I just want to throw down some narrative ideas because I think I've had a lot of success with like basically the idea of this being stock for nonprofits or like things allowing for, you know, organizations that don't fit the current economic models to have the same advantage as large corporations that are able to not only fit in the current economic models, but they're able to issue stock and create their own financial assets, which gives
Access capital markets.
what?
They're able to access capital markets.
Yeah, exactly. It will access capital markets, but beyond that, they're also able to create wealth by creating financial assets, right? And that whole like stock market, I mean, basically when I know someone, I'm like, holy shit, you don't understand how much of a scam the entire financial world is. It's all a fucking scam. It's like people, large organizations, large companies that are so rich that they don't need any more money. They have the ability to create wealth by going public with their organizations and creating stock, which is just fake money that they can sell to other people and then keep extra for themselves. They literally just create $10 million out of nothing, give 3 to the people who give them money and who are allowed to give them money, and then take 7 for themselves to dish out to their friends and family. It's wild, it's crazy, and it just allows for-profit companies to take more advantage of externalities that are not in the. I love the bottled water example because it's like, yes, bottled water is like, you know, solving a great need for society, but then they take advantage of plastics, the externalities of the oceans, dumping plastics everywhere, you know, like, and all these, they take advantage of all the issues in the world, and the people that are trying to protect the oceans or trying to protect a river, they don't have the access to capital markets. They don't have the ability to just create a financial asset. But with the Common Stack, they can create a financial asset and that can represent the value that they produce, just like Amazon can represent the value that they produce with issuing stock. A nonprofit organization that is producing value can create a financial asset that represents that value, and people who want to invest in that value that's being produced, they can. And this is a huge way to create value and create wealth for the organization itself. I don't know how easy that is to come in, but it has had a lot of positive responses, you know, especially when I throw in that the economic model has these, you know, holes in it. Yeah, I've been shilling it that way this week, and it's just been really probably the best responses I've gotten so far.
For with like normal people, right?
Yeah, with normal people, with Michael, and at the end of the community call, Michael and Thomas and those guys, and normal people have really loved it.
Yeah, I think that's a very good angle because you don't come at it from like the Ponzi scheme side. You come at it from, hey, we're already doing this. And I mean, most people look at the current financial markets and they don't automatically think Ponzi scheme, even though in some ways it's very similar. But yeah, I think that's a good. I've got a note here in the agenda, and I'll follow up on that and try to weave it into our narrative in a couple spots.
Yeah, and it also follows really well with the new roadmap plan, which is the goal of the 6th iteration is to get it so that normal nonprofit communities that aren't super tech focused can use the stack. So we're the 6th iteration, our goal is that someone is to build it so that normal people can use it.
Woo, let's get us to 6.
Yeah, so
okay, cool.
But yeah, I mean, in the end, it's this iteration or the narrative will be constantly changing, and if we don't have documentation on these things, it's fine. It's we just got to push things out. I don't want to. We need to stop recreating the wheel, so I don't want to throw this in too hard.
Yep. No. Yeah, I won't redo everything, but I'll see if I can weave it into a couple spots.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anything else in narrative?
Other than that, nope. I'm going to be working over the weekend, trying to get as much of this done as possible, and hopefully by Tuesday, I think we have a call on Tuesday, we'll have this more or less polished up, and or maybe not with the polish, but at least all the info in there, and we can start sending out and getting feedback and polishing where necessary.
Cool.
And I imagine that's when the FAQ will start getting fleshed out as well, when we send this stuff to people, and the questions that they have coming back. Maybe we should consider some calls with advisors after this goes out. We give them a couple days to digest and do some call rundowns and just say what's missing, what do you not like, where can we answer more questions, etc.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Our advisors basically become our first beta pitches, right?
That's all on those docs. Those
Okay.
are my top priority.
Perfect. Okay, legal considerations. Do you want to take this one, Jeff?
Yep, sure. So safe exit planning for emergency shutoff. I guess we are still going to discuss our escape hatches. Non-transferable token. Oh yeah. Wait, that's another thing I'm going to fit into the narrative around what the launch phase is, perhaps, which I need to go in and do some wordsmithing on that. But basically explaining that we're going to launch it completely decentralized and allowing the DAO to decide on centralizing security features. I've already got a note in the FAQ on that. And I was going to chat with Bernd about an article that I don't think that's a rush, so I'll just hold off on that for now. Anything else on the legal side? Bernd, so oh no, that's KYC. Just wondering about US citizens and Canadian citizens on that, but that's not for this section. Yeah, so other than that, it'll go into the FAQ, it'll go into our narrative a little bit, and I think that's all for here. And we need to do some future planning, so maybe that's an action item for one of these future meetings.
Okay. Yeah, and the big thing is that we're not launching anything. The Commons launches itself. We just create an iteration of some sort, and that's what we got.
Yeah. An iteration.
Yeah, an iteration, not a launch. Well, I mean, we'll get to the name-a-thon, I guess, in a second.
Yeah, I was just pondering that. I'm pretty sure it's on our list.
Yeah, oh, it is. Anything else on legal considerations?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, Binance Fellowship. I've been pinging them in the Telegram channel that they created, and they're not responding. So, whatever. That's all I got on that.
Okay.
Advisor meeting in Berlin. Do we need to make any comments on that?
I was looking at a calendar trying to figure out when there was a break between Web3, DAppCon, Token Engineering Global, and ETH Berlin. And it looks like they all overlap.
Yeah.
So it might be a fun exercise trying to get Eden and Trent, and I don't think Simon will be there, but maybe what we can do is identify our key people that we want there. Is Sherman key, or is Trent key, or and I know we won't have Simon, so I guess it's kind of determining priority of who we really need to sit down and run through this with, and obviously the more the merrier, but there may be some conflicts just considering, people might be speaking at either Web3 or any of these other conferences. So
I mean,
Fine.
I definitely think Trent and Eden are the top two. Like Sherman's a nice to have, but in the end, she doesn't have space and time to give us much. And
Yeah.
I mean, Eden and Trent are like, yeah. And then if there's anybody else that fits that, fits the time that works for those two, and
Yeah.
obviously Z and you and
Yeah.
the times that work for you guys,
Yeah, that'll probably narrow down the window of times if I just ask Z what his schedule is like, and then it's like, okay, we have these 3 slots. That'll just make it easier rather than me trying to figure out among 8 different people what'll work. I'll just talk to Z and find some slots and then put them out there to our advisor team.
Yeah, you could use Doodle like graduated, so like send the Doodle first to the people that you want to be there the most, and
Yeah.
then after you get their responses, you could just like delete times that wouldn't work for them, and then delete that before sending it out to anyone else.
Cool. Yeah, I'll do that. That'll be an action step for me. Okay, cool. Name-a-thon doc, yay.
Yay! Yeah, so I just made that doc just now. It just has a
Cool.
copy paste of all of this. But I figure if we're gonna have it spread over 2 Commons team calls, it might as well have its own doc.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how we want to go about this, but I definitely think we have more names than this.
Yeah.
So
this also goes along with kind of the finalizing of these of the docs that I'm doing. So again, if we how many other topics do we have here? Just project milestones. So I mean, if we want to do more on the project milestones this call, I can, as I'm going through all these docs on the weekend, I've just been like highlighting all the terms in the docs and saying like, need a name for this, need a name for this. I can consolidate that, make this list a little bit more organized perhaps, and we can do kind of a name-a-thon selection. Or I mean, do we want to do some of these right now, or do we want more feedback? I feel like we need a few more of like maybe Zargum or Sponet, or I feel like Zargum would be a really good person to have in the name-a-thon session, at least, if we're doing a vote on this or this. So maybe I'll put some more work into organizing this name-a-thon doc, and we can, when we have a few more people in the next core call or.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's a lot more than this, a lot more names than this. And then, we just need to really align in it, like, and debate. Unfortunately, it is like, let's debate the finer points. The biggest thing is that for me is that we appoint one person who says, this is yes or no,
Yeah. And I mean, on the legal side too, perhaps maybe we should have
yeah.
And I think this would
I mean, what I would love is maybe just spending some time for all of us, like that I think we could do now, is just like going in and thinking of all the words and that are questionable, that it's like, I don't like that term, I don't like this term. There's so many people, there's so many things in here.
Commonero. I think that's commoner.
Yeah, exactly. Commonero.
Like that Commonero. It rhymes with your favorite thing.
I didn't like Commonero. Commonero is on the list. Yeah.
So that was actually meant to be there. I thought it was just
it's Spanish for commoner.
Really?
No, not really. But and when you add ero, that's like a doer in Spanish. And it has Monero in it. Which
might be a little off-brand.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Good point. No, of course that was a joke, but we can delete it. I think reserve pool, collateral pool. That's something that we've been looking at.
Yeah.
I don't know, Chris, if you have any words that you're like, I don't really like that one or this one.
I was muted. Well, I think. Oh yeah, are there more in that first link? Because I just was looking in the.
Yeah, there's more in the link now in that naming doc link.
Okay. Because I like some of the terms that Abby used in her deep dive, which are not in here right now. For example, just like I like the. Oh yeah, no, it is in there. Sorry, I like the Hatchers term very much. And she had some others in there, like for the different phases. I don't know if they're all in here.
You should go in and pull them out and put them on this document.
Yeah, I will do that right now.
I think Hatchers is there. Oh,
Yeah.
you know what?
Well, Hatches is there next to initiators and so on. The Hatchers is to me, especially now that we have like an egg-like logo, it makes extra sense.
Yes. True.
And it's a very clear term to me. People who are like, no, they hatch the egg. It's like the beginning of like, they're the experts. They're the people, they're the chickens who are like around that egg.
We're
call
hatching
them chickens.
commons.
Yeah.
Or we are allowing commons to hatch, maybe. We are,
Yes,
we are
there you go.
allowing communities to hatch these eggs.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're just building the blueprint for the egg, man.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Let's see. There's got to be others.
There were so many types of eggs in my dream last night.
Eggs.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Maybe it's a common stack dream.
There were with the mahouts. There were like quite some suggestions in the core.
I added those in. Shepherd, tender, keeper, caretaker, wrangler, maintainer. I copied those out and dropped them in.
Drop them where?
Just in the in the
Oh yeah, the agenda probably.
oops, yeah, the agenda. Sorry, here we go.
Let's see.
There we go.
Yeah, I like the caretaker, commons keeper. Tender is not a wrangler. Sounds a bit aggressive to me. Shepherds sounds a little bit biblically to me.
Yeah.
I'm working with like elimination because it's sometimes easier.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm just scared of like there being any ownership kind of vibes there that'll make mahouts feel like they're being attacked, or that they might make them feel susceptible to something, you know.
Responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
With what word?
Mahouts, with the mahouts one, like stewards or shepherd or keeper or caretaker, you know, I don't know, maintainer. In a way they have a lot of responsibility things. I think it's better to have some kind of off the wall word than a word that's kind of infers like some sort of responsibility.
But it is, so it's good that because these words do like reflect some responsibility, right?
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's the problem.
Yeah, because they.
So you're not saying it's a problem with the mahout word.
I think the mahout is so off the wall that it's like a mahout's a job, you know. Like,
nobody can really say what it means because no one knows what it means.
Yeah, or
perfect term.
Yeah, priest. I don't know. It's like it helps a little bit.
Yeah, to me it doesn't because it's for the thing that Lorelai said. Like if people don't know what it is, it's not helpful. But yeah. I like caretaker. I keep going back to caretaker because it's the warmth and the humanity in that word for me. But yeah, keeper and tender, maintainer, stewards, those all seem to work for me as well.
I mean, if we're sticking with the egg analogy, you know, and we have people hatching these commons, is there anything like mother hen, like what who who tends the eggs while it's still young and fragile?
Can we have a farmer? Or is there a specific job on the farm for someone who takes care of the chickens?
I'm sure there is. I bet there's an agricultural term for this, but it's probably equally ununderstandable to Mahout.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing is that these guys, all they do, they lead the culture. They don't take care of the DAO. They lead. They're like cultural leaders. It's like a job, like community organizer
I
type
wish
people.
I
Or
wish that like apiarist was not, such a weird word and also like already kind of taken because of apiary.
yeah,
But it's really cool. I mean, a beekeeper is, I feel like, yeah, fits the analogy more than because it's a swarm.
I mean, if we want to do something that is normal, like just like a community manager or something that's a job, where it's
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, this is what I do for this community. I'm the community organizer or community manager or the marketing guy or whatever. And then it's just like, yes, this is clearly just a service position.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That like we give an early donation to the DAO in the form of like donating these things, and we're not hiring them, but we are like donating milestones to this DAO, and then like letting them be fulfilled. I don't know. It's because we have to play these sides of like, oh, we don't want the Mahouts to be scared that they're going to go to jail, for being the organizers or the ringleaders for a token. Like, they'll be like, whatever her name's Representative Waters will be coming out and be like, they're destroying the US dollar. But anyway, so but we don't need to be debating these things. We should just be generating more ideas of words that we don't like or that are like special to the common stack.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is a list we can continue adding to and subtracting from.
Fundraising, KYC. It'd be great to get rid of the word termed KYC,
What does AML stand for?
anti-money laundering.
Which I discovered yesterday. I didn't even know it. Just to say, like, it's like I never use those terms, but they're like, yeah, they're used often in the default world.
Definitely too often.
Mm.
Ooh, a sketch.
Yeah, you gotta check this out. He's got all sorts of good stuff. I
What's
love
that?
Colin's analytic dashboard, but I'll add it to the list. She's looking at the overview.
What do we got in there? Oh, the puzzle pieces.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I like the puzzle pieces.
Yeah, that's things like that I'll want to run by Amy as well. I don't know if you've looked through those docs too much. There's a bunch of sketches popping in places. Very
Yeah, I have on this one flight, I took all of your article folder and like downloaded it and like looked at them on a long ass flight. But you must have been adding the sketches more recently.
Yeah, they're not so much in the articles. They're more in the so if in the like member summary doc, like this, kind of like our system overview, fundraising plan, launch strategy. That's where most of the sketches have gone into for now. And those will probably make their way into some articles eventually as well. Where I just lost my Namathon doc. There it is.
Oh, of course, the CSA.
I think we already have that above.
Oh yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, and then the first line I split it out from like just the members to like the initial members because those are two different things. right?
Yes. Yeah. For sure.
And then I added hatching phase and the open phase from Abby's document. Maybe open phase can also be the funding phase. I don't know if that is the same. I guess not.
Funding phase.
Instead of open phase, if open is a bit too vague for people. Although to me, open is clearer because that's like when everyone can like contribute.
Mm-hmm. Funding phase might be a little bit confusing because then people like the hatch phase is kind of also the initial funding, and then it's like the open funding.
Yeah, indeed.
They're kind of related to.
And probably we don't want to use the word funding too much anyways.
Yeah.
I also have, I don't know if it needs to be in the list, but like when it comes to the formulas, we have the realized price and the spot price and the friction fee, all those terms.
What do they call it in apiary? Do they call it a discretionary pool?
They call it a tap, and they don't have a funding pool. They just have like a tap that drains the reserve pool.
But doesn't it drain it into a funding pool?
It drains it into, I think it does go to a DAO, but I don't think they call it, I think that's just like, oh, now you have money. It's just an organization that has the money. I don't think that maybe they have a term for it in the code, but like, at least for like DApp node who wants to use apiary, it's just their money. You know? Like, yeah, you have a tap and you pull it, and when you pull the money out of the tap, it's your money. Congrats.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, off topic, but we're gonna move forward with a Graceaid token bonding curve with Andreas,
Cool.
and we're putting together a document for like how do we do this with apiary. So that's gonna be fun, and do it all on Giveth, so that basically that will feed into a Giveth campaign, connecting token bonding curves to Giveth campaigns using Andreas and Graceaid as the first beta user.
Cool.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get a lot of the groundwork done for us on this for Field Test Commons too.
Cool.
Why are you?
What?
Who's going to dev on that?
They will.
Oh, they have people? Cool.
Yeah, Argon Black.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll be like their beta users. So
cool.
I mean, we have DappLion already made the thing that will allow us to send money to an address. And so, but we'll, we're gonna put together a proposal for it and then go from there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I like this Namathon doc. This is awesome. I'm going to add this to our single source of truth so we can come back to it. We also have it in the notes. And with 10 minutes left, maybe we should move on to project milestones, or do you guys want to just finish the hour out with names and then take another half hour or something to go through the project milestones?
I'm happy to start going through the project milestones.
Yeah, sure. I added what I found in a Abby's document, so it's done.
Yeah, multiplier. Yeah, I mean, they were just It's just I could definitely keep playing on the naming doc, but let's move on. It's a good start, and hopefully it got people's. At least we all know. Oh yeah, when a name comes up, we put it there.
Drop it in here. Yeah, it's in the single source of truth. Also, in the single source of truth, all of the docs that we're like kind of currently working on are highlighted in light orange, red. Just so jump in, you can see all the things that are in progress.
Nice. Let me see. Let me drop this to Zargum while I'm thinking about it. Okay, so well, yeah, let's just go through this doc. I mean, the main thing is just to ask questions about if you guys run into questions, let's clarify it, make comments in this doc, and make sure that we're all on the same page, because once this is solidified, we can't change it,
Okay. So first things, we are not calling it a launch roadmap.
No, yeah, that's for sure.
So can we call it a deployment roadmap? Can we call it a
roadmap? I think it can just be common stack roadmap.
Okay. Changing the title. Okay.
Or as you said in the agenda, project milestones could work too. But roadmap is clear for sure.
Roadmap and budget. Yeah. Okay. Just going to highlight the word iteration for the name-a-thon.
So, my correct intention is to just read through this and get like the last chance to make any argument.
Yep.
Or questions.
Yeah.
Practical question for that. Like, I was wondering about it just before the call, actually. Like, so you want to raise that amount of DAI, in what currency do you accept?
I expect we would take Ether and DAI.
Okay, but no, like, for example, if someone says, "Hey, I just have I want to donate like $10,000 in dollars," you're not gonna accept dollars. You need it in cryptocurrency.
We don't have a bank. We will never have a bank account. So
good. Just wanted to make sure. DAI and ETH. Okay.
I think that's worthy of note, though.
Mm-hmm.
So when we say the word iteration, sorry, I'm just going to think about this out loud while we go through this doc. So we don't want to say that we are launching anything. We are not the initiators behind these things, but we are providing infrastructure. We're providing like the egg that the community will take and hatch. Just trying to think like iteration is weird to me as a noun because it's very like, I don't know, you call things like you produce an iteration or you iterate on something. It's just weird to me using it as a noun instead of a verb.
I mean, that's name-a-thon for sure, but I'll tell you, this is the third iteration of the Giveth DApp, like it's a very common, I would say it's a common way to use the word for sure.
In development world, just like using the word iteration because we're developing software, to me it makes sense. Personally, I like the word iteration. It's like it focuses on the fact that we're building something really technical.
Okay, cool.
Definitely the iterating this iteration, I don't know, that's kind of funny, but I think I like it because it really builds, it follows our narrative. Like, we're going to build iteratively. In fact, all we're doing is building iterations on the common stack. I don't
Right. It just seems like a very amorphous word to me. Like it's like an iteration. Iterate, like it could be an anything, you can iterate. But I mean, we're also talking about code and a tech stack. So yeah, that's it's growing on me. Cool.
We can, if we can find something better that's not like illegal, I'm into it.
Cool.
Yeah, deployment is really what I'd like to say, but it's not an option.
Right.
No?
No, we're not deploying anything.
They would be deploying it, the people who use it, right?
Yep.
Is that, yeah.
Communities will deploy it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think iteration is the next closest thing that communicates it.
Yeah.
For sure. And it is super common in the space to use it as a norm.
Oh, we have to KYC before June 29th. That's good to know. I didn't know.
I don't know. I just put in dates there. Let's see before. Let's see. Oh yeah. So advisors and core team. Let's see. June 29th. I mean, the KYC isn't ready yet, so. Shit takes forever, man. I thought for sure we'd be done by now.
So there's, in the next one, probably you still want to change something because it says, I don't know how to say this correctly.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, I mean, I guess this should be a comment, but it's like anyone being paid by the Common Stack Association will have 15% of their pay allocated to the tech whitelist, but it's not like, it's like they get 15% of their pay. They get 100% of their pay, and then 15% of that ends up as next to their address on the whitelist.
So is that like their annual pay or how?
No, it's how much money they're given. So if someone does a one-off design for $100, they'll get $15 on the whitelist.
So how about like anyone being paid will have an allowance of
Go ahead.
an allowance on the whitelist equating 15% of their pay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. I didn't have the word allowance like that.
Here, I'll rewrite it for you.
Yeah,
I didn't
please.
say it exactly right.
Probably have something in the supplier agreement, right, or something like that in there.
Probably.
So what about people who are paid on an ongoing basis, like any of the Common Stack Association or board, or if you make 1,000 DAI a month, is that a 12-month? Is it 24-month? I mean, like,
Nope.
is it?
It's just whatever you've been paid up to that point. So the idea is that the bonuses would basically, like, when the iteration is done, the bonuses would kick in, and then we would accumulate your entire salary up to that moment, and then publish the whitelist on GitHub, and then say this iteration is done. Here's the bytecode that matches this iteration, or whatever. Like, it's cemented. Now, community, deploy it. Like,
I see. So everyone who has done work for that iteration, all the amounts are added up, and then 15% goes into.
For that iteration and the iterations prior, right? Like basically all the money the common stack has spent up to that point. 15% of it goes on the whitelist.
Gotcha.
So like, you know, for the first whitelist, we might have already started working on the, you know, first, second, and third iterations. So even though like level K, they're building conviction voting, they might have money that we might have already paid them money to start working on common stack. So and so they will be on the first iteration,
Cool.
first iteration's whitelist.
Cool.
Yeah, this first part is especially rough. I've basically reviewed it once.
So the maximum amount for the TEC whitelist after each funding milestone, that funding milestone, is that now a funding iteration or is that a funding milestone?
Where are you?
In maximum amounts for the TEC whitelist.
After each, it's not an I would say funding milestone. Yeah, because iteration is the code. This is
Yeah.
like,
But they do correspond to iterations.
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
can we
Like,
say after each iteration's funding milestone?
sure.
Okay. And people don't get confused, and the less questions they have when reading it, the better, I guess.
Well, in the end, this is never being published. This is only ever for internal alignment, but it's still important that we understand it, obviously. And then because we're going to build off of this, you know, Jeff and I and whoever else we're all going to like use this as our single source of truth type document when it's like, oh yeah, wait, how much are we spending for that milestone? And
Mm.
Yeah, I'd like to. Yeah, these are definitely internal facing. This, I think, this max amount for the TEC whitelist will confuse people, even like advisors. Like, I mean, people like Simon maybe who are in it and understanding. I think he followed, but I think these numbers of like the max amounts for the TEC whitelist should be very internal.
yeah, I mean, we can even remove it. We can just, the main point here was just like understanding the cap of a hatch, you know, giving like an estimate about like, you know, about around what will these numbers be, you know? So
Yeah.
maybe we could say max amount for the cap of each hatch, estimates of the cap of each hatch, because that's really what the point of it is, you know. But like, but like even then it will change, because like if we meet, you know, iteration three's milestone by before the iteration 1 is launched, then its cap would be the iteration of 3, right? It'd be like you could have $6 million in that first one.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a confusing thing, and I don't know the best way to explain it for sure.
What is more in that sentence that you have like highlighted still, Jeff? I think, yeah. The next sentence, what is more likely is that we do not hit our cap before the first hatch. The first hatch is again, that's the first iteration.
First hatch is the deployment of iteration 1.
Okay, yeah. So hatch is actually deployment. Okay, got it. And hatch is maybe a better word. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely can't say deployment.
No, hatch is a good one, but it's good to understand then that it's not the same as iteration. It's the hatching of the iteration.
Yeah.
Yeah, hatch is definitely an actual deployment, so we should probably even be careful about using that.
I'm just sketching out some. I think all of this, like, I mean, words. It's just so much easier to see this in a diagram. So, like, I'm just thinking about some sketches that we could, like, okay, we are, as a Common Stack Association, people are donating money to us for a build phase. We are producing iterations, and these iterations are eggs. So there is iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3. Then a community takes that egg and they hatch the egg, and they hatch it and into a curve, and then people can donate or not donate. They can participate in the hatch of that egg into. So anyway, I'm just trying to draw this into an understandable diagram, kind of so that people can read this, but then they can also see it and say, okay, I'm donating to the Common Stack Association. They're building code iterations, which are these eggs. Then
Blueprints for the egg. Because we're
Sorry?
not building the egg. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Infrastructure for an egg. Then communities take that and combine them themselves, build the egg, and then they're hatching them into a curve that our whitelist members can then invest in. And that's where maybe we don't say the word invest, but that's really where the legal separation with the Common Stack Association ends. And they can participate in those hatches with the communities, and the Common Stack Association is not involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a good idea to visualize it a little bit for sure. Well, eggs are hatched in nests. Of course, Aragon already is using nests. No, they stopped using it.
They stopped using it?
Yeah, they don't use well, now it's just like yeah, they're not using that nest project anymore, right? They use the oh god, words.
No,
The thing.
they still do Nest.
Or Aragon fundraising or something?
No, they still use Nest. They still use
They
Nest.
do?
Yeah.
Oh,
They have Flock. They have Nest.
yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
And Flock is for dev teams. Nest is for projects, like smaller projects. And then, yeah, they have the fundraising app, which is a token bonding curve thing. Let's see. And I definitely hope we can get into the actual iterations because it's important.
Okay. Should we change the names of these rather than Field Test Commons 1? Should we be consistent with what we called it above? Augmented bonding curve, Field Test Commons?
Sure, yeah. That's a good idea. I can do that while you keep reviewing.
Okay. So 8 months of runway for the project. Do we mean the Common Stack Association?
Yep.
For the Common Stack?
For the organization, well, I think for the projects, heavily milestone based. So it's like if people are, I mean, that's the thing. It's like that's just what I assume for everyone's salaries, for everything, is that 8 months. But if we go long, it's on us.
Yeah, I just want to be clear that we're talking about like the Common Stack project and not the like we're already talking about hatching and initiating.
Yeah, is this the ABC project or
Yeah.
is this the Common Stack project?
Yeah.
Well, it's both. For iteration 1, it's both. Like that's all we get. So like for iteration 1, it's like if we have 8 months of runway for ourselves, as long as once we hit this milestone, we have at least 8 months of runway for ourselves.
Yeah. So that's 8 months for us, and then we
and for Argon Black to deploy this thing and all the stuff that's done there. It's not just the organizing crew. It's like
right, but we're not talking about runway post hatch.
No.
Yeah,
we're talking about build runway.
That's true. Yeah, because there is runway post hatch after that too.
Right.
That's in phase 2.
No, that's in. Well, like if we only raise, let's say we raise 1.5 million, we will only be held accountable for what's in here, what's in the first iteration. And so we'll have more runway, we'll have more buffer.
Right.
We can definitely go longer than 8 months. But if we raise exactly 1 million, we'll only have enough runway for 8 months. And but we will have this post maintenance, which is basically 2 months. It's only $5,000 for like one maintainer to just like watch the repo for changes.
Okay. And what about like is there comms funding built into this? Like
Yeah.
if like post hatch comms?
No, not post hatch. I mean, basically, while we're building this, we'll continue fundraising, and the comms. There's lots of money. I mean, there's money allocated for comms.
It's just gonna be sad if we have just enough money to launch it and then launch it and can't pay someone to promo it after. Okay, sorry, we're not launching it. But
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, no, some other community will launch it for themselves.
Yeah, but
What do you guys think about like calling it like a commons iteration? At least, well, I mean, maybe not when we're saying like up top where we're saying like iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3, but I just feel like when we get out of the context of up higher, like we're saying if we raise $1 million, we do 1 iteration. If we raise 1.6 million, we do 2 iterations. It's kind of in context. But then when we scroll down to like iteration 1 in the overview, point 2, complete the first iteration. I'm just wondering if it kind of brings it back into context to say like a commons iteration, like this is our first.
I think the word iteration is consistent both within this document and within the industry. And I think that saying commons iteration here would make it sound more like we are deploying the commons themselves, which we're not.
I mean, I think it's fine if you don't think it's clear, but
like what other iteration would this refer to? I don't think we use the word iteration anywhere else in this document that I've seen so far. That doesn't mean that, iteration 1 through 6.
Yeah, true. Focusing on designing, testing, and creating a launch system. Do we need to say the Commons continuous funding mechanism? I feel like that doesn't really belong in the overview section. That's kind of like the explanation of the common stack. I feel like that's a little too high level for the overview. Do you
Yeah,
guys agree? And do we want to say we're creating a launch system?
Yes, I think so because that what that brings in is like this like we are funding the mahouts. We're like, I think like I like Chris's idea of like we're building the nest so that a bird can come in and use it, and hatch an egg. So we are building a launch system. Like we will have an easy like a script that someone can copy paste and then deploy. But we're building a launch system. We're not launching. I mean, at least to me that feels okay, right?
I think it makes sense in the legal context.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's not. There's no, shouldn't be a problem with building a launch system. It's like if we build a gun, that's cool. Like we built a gun, someone else comes around and fires it, Or
Okay.
someone made a launch pad for the spaceship to use.
That's better analogy than starting with guns, I guess. Conversation. It's a dangerous territory.
Now I'm thinking of
Well-
the guy who invented the atomic bomb and how regretful he is.
Yeah, but that's exactly it. He didn't use it, and he also didn't go to jail when someone else used it. Although sadly, no one has gone to jail for using a nuclear weapon. Wouldn't that be great?
Really? No one ever?
I mean, the only three I know of that were used by the U.S. I don't think the presidents went to jail.
Mm.
Or only two, I guess,
Wait, the US is the only one who's ever launched nuclear weapons?
against another country. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Go U.S.
Yay. I like the term birds as well, because I was immediately thinking like in the in the 50s kind of connotation of like a woman is a bird. Like I was like, yeah, let's use that in a new kind of way. Hey, you bird. But no, probably we won't.
And yeah, so I added that back to what you're saying, Jeff, like the Commons continuous funding mechanism. I added that for all of them. So like overview 2, to give a DAP field test, the Commons proposal framework and escrow service. And then, for iteration 3, conviction voting DAO, the Commons decentralized governance model,
Mm-hmm. Do you want to leave that in? Do you think that's a?
I feel like it's somewhat useful for like if you're coming in cold. It's like, what is an augmented bonding curve?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Okay. Let me control Z that. How many control Z's do I got to do? Got it.
you can leave it. I can rewrite it. It's not hard.
No, got it. Are we calling it Giveth DApp?
This is one for the naming.
Or do we call it like, I mean, I'm curious what, it is the Giveth DApp, we're using the Giveth DApp, but within the context of the common stack, it's more like an escrow. Or what other word have we been using? Escrow.
It's in the Name-a-thon doc. Like, you know, we call it the Giveth donation application.
Mhm.
Which, with that context, I think it makes sense. But it's definitely one for the Name-a-thon.
Okay. Then I guess once we finish that name-a-thon, we just go through all our docs and do a control F and see where that name comes up and do a find and replace.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lowercase iteration. I feel like if we should uppercase anything that is like specifically ours. Like when we talk about conviction voting, for example, I feel like conviction voting should be capitalized, or if DApp should be capitalized. If we're talking about like commons that we are launching, we've decided to capitalize the C, but anything like iteration or, you know, when we're talking about generic, like the commons, I think it's lowercase. But if we're talking about like the name of a specific component that we're creating, we can capitalize that.
Completely agree.
Yeah, I would say it's gonna be rare that we lowercase commons, because at least when I think of a commons that we produce, it's always capitalized. Like if it's the commons and it's a software system, then yes. If it's tragedy of the commons, if it's like, you know, the rare times that we're talking about, like, oh yeah, you know, and then there's like the you know, the commons around this river, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's going to be really rare that we don't capitalize commons.
Right. Yeah.
I think in that sense, it's not capitalized, but also like if you say that you want to create a commons for something, I would be, if it's not like a specific commons that has a name, I would think it's not capitalized either, right? Or would you capitalize that one?
If you're talking about creating a software system, I mean, then it would be a commons with a capital C, because you're talking about a specific type of software system, which is the ones that are deployed with a common stack. For me, I'm using commons to say a token bonding curve that feeds into a DAO.
Yeah.
I never.
And that's capitalized.
I don't think we've ever. I haven't heard that exact whatever before, that like that our product is a software system called capital C Commons.
So it's token engineering commons, you know, just like DAO. I basically, like, anytime that you'd say, hey, let's deploy a DAO, you always capitalize a DAO, you know?
Yeah, but I agree with like, I think it's the same thing what Lorelei is saying there. Is like, if you say it's the token engineering commons, it is a specific commons. But if you're saying like, yeah, we're gonna create a commons around water cleaning, whatever, I would say it's not with a capital until it's the water cleaning commons. But it's just
I get what you're saying, Griff. I have never heard this before. I never heard this is our product. Our product is a capital C Commons.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a milestone or a campaign or a, you know, like to differentiate to clarify it, we capitalize it because it's not a commons in your average sense.
It's just hard because like Giveth isn't called the milestone stack, you know, and so like what with the common stack and then also capitalizing commons as the name of the product, when I see that, like when I see launch a system for ABC field test, the commons continuous funding mechanism, it makes me think, oh, they're shortening common stack, and they're saying the first thing that they're launching is the common stacks funding mechanism. Wow, that sounds legally dicey. I don't know. That's just where my head goes.
Well, should we Should we get rid of the term commons and call our software stack something else, like
I think
a
it should be on.
deployment?
I think it should be on the name-a-thon.
Okay,
For sure.
commons,
Commons as a product.
continuous. Well, so like, yeah, I mean, like Tebow calls his stuff continuous organizations, and I feel like that's also what we're building. We're building continuous orgs. We could call them continuous nonprofits. We could call them government replacers.
I mean, there's something to me about the fact that it's like it's a frame, and it's the blueprint, like our product. If we're talking about people,
Well, but we should also name what's deployed, not just like our blueprint, but like when something's deployed, it's a continuous funding model plugged into a DAO in a nonprofit sense with an escrow service. Like that's our total package, and that package needs a name.
I think another solution to this possibly is like directing abbreviations of the common stack away from the word commons. Like if we were to use the stack like more frequently whenever we're saying it in short, I think then when people see the commons, they won't think the stack, the common stack, because they think, oh, well, if they were trying to abbreviate this, they would be saying the stack. Does that
What do you
make
mean?
sense?
No. So you're saying like when we talk about our project, we call it the stack?
Well, like if we're ever to abbreviate, right, or to speak
Okay.
in that way about it, because otherwise I think it just leaves the mind to think the commons, like capitalized here, is like referring to the common stack.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So if we start calling our project the stack,
like not all the time, right? But like if you create the idea that, oh, if that is the abbreviation for it, if ever, then like when I think it supports people to not think like the commons is an abbreviation for the common stack.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why the commons is a good word for the system, because this is the common stack. This is the software repo that allows people to deploy commons. It's the common stack.
I feel like the stack gives the impression that we are talking about the components, like we're talking about the tech stack.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is what we're talking about, though.
I don't want to I'm just trying to think of ways to lean away from like removing this use of commons, because it's the best word for it. I want to like mitigate confusion there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and one thing that's interesting is that like the augmented bonding curve is just the first continuous funding mechanism that we're going to use. I really hope that we would bring in like Harburger tax funding mechanisms as well.
Mm-hmm.
So for that, commons continuous funding mechanism. So we could say the commons first continuous funding mechanism.
What if we just say like a continuous funding mechanism for communities rather than saying the commons?
Yeah, we could start. Start.
Yeah, put it maybe in the naming doc, and we can still come back to it. But I think it's I like the commons for sure.
I wonder if there's a way, like a very quick modifier to it, like how we say DApp instead of app. Like, are we launching dcommons or
dcommons
or something like that? Not like adding a whole nother word, but I don't know. Yeah, we should move on. But.
Mm-hmm.
I'll add that to the name-a-thon, dcommons.
When we're talking about runway, I mean, I know that is a commonly used term. Do we want to? I'm just curious if we say like, we have an 8-month build phase. There is an additional 4-month build phase. I'm just curious.
No, well, that's the thing. That's what we're not. We cannot commit to time. We cannot commit to time.
Okay,
We will
so
never commit to time.
as in, like, this is the amount of time we have. Hopefully, we can get done everything that we have in this.
This is the amount of budget we have, or we're budgeting for 8 months of work. And if it takes longer, well, we're going to keep working because it's milestone based. So, like, we have buffer, of course, and people are doing salary, but like, for most of the money, right? Most of the money is for producing the augmented bonding curve, for open sourcing CAD, most of the money is heavily milestone based. I think, what is this, like, administrative requirements is basically the only salary we have, and that's about 27% of the total. So like, if we go long, we're only extending that 27%.
Okay.
So like, it's heavily milestone based, and actually we're not even extending the 27% because it'll be like more like 20% or something, because there's a large part of that is bonuses. Well, not so much for the first one. The bonuses are a little smaller, and for the salaried workers like us, basically, we get a decent chunk of our salary is going to be like, oh yes, we finished the first iteration. Here's a bonus, So like, extending, if we go long, that we can still pay our salaries, but it's like, that's fine. However, if like Argon Black goes long on launching the augmented bonding curve, they're not getting paid an hourly rate. They're getting paid for hitting milestones.
Okay.
Same with Giveth. Giveth's not getting an hourly rate. That's 17K. If it takes us 2 years,
Right.
Obviously it won't, but then we just don't get paid until it's done.
Right.
I'm wondering, Griff, is your goal to get through this whole document reading through together?
I would like to go faster.
Okay.
But yeah.
I've started moving faster, even though I'm just making some of these. Iteration 3.
Where were we before we scrolled back up to that page? Not very far.
I'm just really excited about iteration 6. You will be so excited when you get there. The easy to deploy commons.
Common stack.
It's very good to say common stack.
Did we put that allocation based and thing in the?
That starts in iteration 3.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's in the name-a-thon.
Yeah, it should be. I'll put it in there.
I got it.
We should be a snake hatching an egg instead of a chicken. Common. There's two S's. Okay?
How about a turtle? I would rather-
Turtle?
yeah,
The turtle doesn't go.
it's true, but a snake is bad. We don't want a snake as our.
Turtles are very, I think they have great connotations,
Yeah. Turtles are cute.
but they're like curmudgeons.
In some ways, I'm thinking like a sea turtle.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, sea turtle floating around.
But like, think about how many of their babies die when they hatch.
We don't even think. Yeah, that's true. That's why we're doing iterations. These things are not going to work.
Turtles don't have success when they hatch
Dude,
babies.
I'll tell you, the
Sea
first
turtles
dude,
especially.
the first two are not going to work. These first two iterations are not going to work. Like, and I will tell everyone that they're going to be annoying to use. They're going to be shit.
Okay, good
like-
luck convincing somebody to take that on then.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're gonna try really hard to make sure that the token engineering commons is the third one or the fourth one. But it'll be fine to have communities. Communities will want to take these on. It's like, what? You can let me deploy a token and not be a douchebag? Okay, yeah, let's do it.
We should be careful on the shit talking these as well, because these are also potentially, where members will be funding and hoping to see some. I mean, yeah, they're gonna
No,
be shitty UX. They're gonna be hard to use because all of our easier to use functionality comes in later iterations. But hopefully we can build useful prototypes along the way.
Yeah, for sure. I shouldn't. This is why I really
boy,
hope
Griff.
Abby comes in so that I don't have to be the person talking to interview people. I'm not the best at this, man. I'm just gonna be shit talking our own product.
We're making shit coins.
Yeah, but everyone needs a shit coin, okay?
Shit coins and Ponzi schemes.
Yeah. Listen, the financial system's doing it. We should too.
Okay, so I'm not really given too much look at the numbers. That's not really what we're focusing on here, eh? We're just looking to make sure
I guess the other idea is like noticing that we're not doing anything on the DAOs for the first two, understanding what Mahoots are and the explanations here, being like, oh wait, but we're forgetting, something. I don't know. Like,
okay.
That's where I'm especially, it's not about editing this document because it's an internal facing document. It's about being aligned on what we're doing in each of these commons. Like nitpicking the commons continuous funding mechanism for communities, that's definitely not the purpose. Purpose is understanding what we're doing and making sure that you do understand what we're doing.
And when you say internal, you mean team and advisors, yeah?
Yeah.
So this won't go out to people like Chris Berniski, for example?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, I think I linked to this doc somewhere in the member summary, so I'll have to go through and make sure that does not stay in there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely just take from it,
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, when this is so much detail, like no one ever needs to see this detail. No one wants to hear about that. Like if someone wants to hear about that, like maybe like if someone asks explicitly for it, maybe we can share it with them, because they want to put in a bunch of money and they want to know that we have a plan, Sure. But it's like promotional material, like this is our internal roadmap. You know.
First fully functional commons.
Yeah, it could definitely be something else.
I mean, Z was calling it like the minimum viable whole commons. I don't know why in particular he was calling it that.
First fully tested? Yeah, because functional isn't the right word. And a lot of this is in a lot of ways like better broken up in a different format. Like, this is the advancement of CAD-CAD. This is the advancement of the bonding curve. This is the advancement of conviction voting DAO. Like, I feel like most of this is just like better understood via like each individual part,
Yeah, which part is the CAD?
The first one in every group is like CAD. Point one in every iteration. So like first we open source CAD in the first iteration and improve the documentation. In the second iteration, we build online CAD courses. In the third iteration, we hire an extra staff member for CAD. But also in all of these iterations, we're building a module for augmented bonding curve in the first one. In the second one, we're building a module. We're integrating GiveADApp into the CAD module. The third one, we're hiring a staff for an extra staff member just to fix bugs and work on new features for CAD. And we're doing a conviction voting CAD module. And the fourth one, we're building a CAD module for simulating DAOs, like a general purpose one for DAOs. In the fifth one, we're doing a general purpose one for token networks. And in the sixth one, we're creating a CAD module for TCRs. Actually, this is wrong. And doing a full UX audit, right? Like, and then it's like, okay, that's what we're doing for CAD in each iteration. And I feel like that's like an easier thread to follow than the way this is formatted. But at the same time, it's like, well, these are the things that we add when we hit each financial milestone.
For the multiplier sections 4 and on, do we really need to say that they receive a 1x multiplier, or do we just say
It again, it doesn't. That's just for it's internal. We don't need an nitpick.
true, true?
And then like the Commons Analytic dashboard, there's
Where do we mention that? I don't
that doesn't come until the fourth iteration. I guess we could put that in the overview.
Yeah.
Well, and then maybe that's why it's fully functional, because it finally has the Commons Analytics dashboard.
So that's in iteration 4.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Commons Analytic dashboard.
I mean, it could be the analytical commons.
Why would you prefer that?
Well, over fully functional.
I see.
The first fully complete commons. Maybe. I mean, the analytics dashboard doesn't need nearly as much testing as conviction voting,
Mm-hmm. use the machine learning from the previous milestones to train predictive models.
Milestone from the previous iteration or previous. Yeah, I mean, I obviously need help on rephrasing that.
So this is like more improvements to the Commons Analytics dashboard.
This is really like completing the Commons Analytics dashboard. So it's like the idea is that on the, at least my understanding of the analytics dashboard is that we can actually use CAD modeling to predict how the like health of the commons. So like with the first iteration of the Commons Analytics dashboard, it's like, here's what's happening, like this is, we can like show all sorts of cool graphs and we can analyze like what's happening in the commons. But in the second one, we can actually run simulations and do predictive modeling on and give an even easier stat of like the health of the commons is at 78% or 98%. Like, if we run the thing out, like how likely are we to go to zero, or something like that, and we can do machine learning and predictive modeling to guess the future health of the commons. We can only do that after the commons has run for several months,
Right. So can we take out?
I mean, that thing, I don't try to rephrase it. It's
Okay.
more Z needs to rephrase this because he's the one that will actually build it. I don't really know.
Okay.
But it is important that that's the direction that we go with the analytics dashboard.
Okay.
And I'm hoping in this meeting today we can get Z to like dive into the Commons Analytics dashboard and his vision for it a little bit more.
Cool.
Another thing is like this funding pool donation. Like, I don't know what to do with that. I'm making shit up. So I would love some feedback on that.
For that term.
No, just like, what do we do with it? Like, in all of them, it's kind of like, so it's like, I don't know. The first one, there's nothing. The second one, there's nothing. The third one, it's like, we give 50% as a direct donations to the Token Engineering Commons, and the rest is split equally to the funding pools of the winners of the Commons community competition, right? And then, but like, how do we know what, like, this assumes that one of the top three is the Token Engineering Commons. And then we give like, so we'll give 10K to whichever one that is, and then 5K to the others.
Where are you?
I'm on E on iteration 3. On 2E. And then also 2E on iteration 4, and 2E on iteration 5, and 2E on iteration 6. I just would love some help on that.
50% is a direct donation to the Token Engineering Commons funding pool. And the rest split equally to the funding pools of the winners of the Commons community competition. Okay, so we're on iteration 3. So there's 3 commons right now.
How come
So
you're getting it?
They are. Oh, well, they don't get any donation because, hey, we need that 20K.
For sure. Okay, so this is when we start to be like, oh, we're kind of comfortably successful now.
Yeah.
and we want to start incentivizing people.
I mean, we need to hit the like this whole thing is sort of, it's not a failure, but we need to hit the third iteration. Like we need to raise we need to raise around 3 mil.
So,
Yep.
so are you curious how to split this up? Like, do we say 50% to the token engineering commons, but we're actually not sure which one of these is going to be the token engineering commons?
Yeah, and like, yeah, exactly. We don't know which one they will choose to be the token engineering commons, and like, I mean, we're gonna donate. I mean, the other option is just to take out this idea of ever donating to the funding pools. I mean, like, I don't know. I like the idea of like direct donations to the funding pools, but then it could get dicey, and maybe we just remove it. It's kind of just an extra. Like, I'm starting to lean towards that because it's like an extra complication.
Why is it complicated?
It's complicated legally
Okay.
because we are now donating money to these organizations. It's complicated narrative wise because like it's just like, I mean, it helps narrative wise because like, yeah, give us more money and we're going to give it back to, this percentage of it is going to go support these commons, so that like it's nice incentive wise because it incentivizes people to buy into the commons and buy tokens because they know that there'll be extra money in the funding pool to allocate, especially for the last ones. Yeah, but it's also difficult to decide. Like, I want the funding pool money to go mostly to the token engineering commons, but we don't know which iterations will be the token engineering commons. So, or if any of them, honestly.
So we don't know if iteration 3 will birth the TAC.
No, I mean, in the end, we allowed it's up to the whitelist. So.
Well, yeah, that is complicated. And what's the story with the Commons community competition?
So this is how we determine
who will be 1 and 2?
Yeah, who will be each iteration. Like, so the Commons community competition, at least my vision for this, is that we have different communities apply. We tell them, hey, like, this is what you need to have a successful. It needs to go underneath the thing. This is what you need to do to have these are what we expect from a community. We expect you to have a plan and policy for like your scope of the community and write out documents and like choose mahouts that are going to lead, and like we're going to like see what people think in your chat rooms, and we're going to judge you guys, and then the top 3 will go up to be voted on by the community, or maybe the top 5 or something like that.
So we are doing some judging.
Oh yeah, we're going to filter it for the whitelist for sure. Like, they shouldn't have to pick between 7.
Yeah.
They should pick between 3 or 5. And then when the tech whitelist votes or the members vote, I mean, we need a deep dive on this aspect for sure.
Well, I think that this is definitely a legal concern.
Well, okay, wait. So on the legal concern, it's like when the tech members vote and say which one it is, then we just say, okay, cool. That's the one that we will put milestones for mahouts for, right? And that's it. So we will just put milestones up for mahouts
that have money in them.
That's the 20K. This other mahouts 20K. And
but this is not the funding pool donation.
This is not the funding pool donation. And then that will incentivize the mahouts to organize and like put together all the formal policies and all this stuff. And then the community will deploy their own commons, and we just research and watch it, right? And then, you know, once we hit the iteration 3's funding milestone, if we hit iteration 3's funding milestone before the first Commons is launched, my idea would be that they get 5K in the funding pool once they launch it, you know, and then unless of course it's the token engineering commons, then they get 10K basically, right? But if we hit, you know, the next iteration 4 milestone, you know, then they would get this much in there. We would have 40K. So we'd put, and what I was thinking is that we'd put 30K into the token engineering commons and 5K into the other, into each other commons, basically.
Are we still talking funding pool donations?
Now I'm talking funding pool donations.
He's been switching back between Mahout's 20K and funding pool donations.
Yeah,
20K.
I wanted, you asked about the community competition.
I get. Yeah. Okay. So.
And
so basically, we're becoming a granting organization.
Bernd said that we can definitely donate money with no strings attached to
What-
these commons.
what
Like
do
he
you
said,
mean,
that's
no
fine
strings?
legally. Like, well, we can't pay someone. We can't do the deployment of the like. We can't buy tokens in the commons, for sure.
Yeah.
Right, but we can donate money anywhere because that's where.
And we could put it into a specific milestone, and that doesn't count as strings attached.
Well, yeah, because we're not paying them to deploy the commons. We're paying them to write out policies and procedures for a commons.
Okay. Okay.
So back to the question around the funding pool. Is the question, well, I guess question 1, do we do it? Question 2, how is it split up if we do it? And I mean, the question is like, okay, so 50% to the token engineering commons, but which one is the token engineering commons?
Yeah.
I mean, does it really matter? Because if it's 1 or 2 or 3?
No, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So like it all depends on what iteration we hit, right? Once the commons is launched. So like if we hit the 5th iteration, like we get $5 million before the first commons is launched, then we'll have, actually this is easier to see in the commons stack accounting overview spreadsheet. But so I'm going to open that up. So if we have enough money for, if we raise 5.18 million DAI or more before the first iteration, then we'll have in the funding pool donation, we will have a total of 100K. And basically like half of that would go to the token engineering commons. And if the first iteration is the token engineering commons, that means they would get a donation of 50K. And then each one after that would get, 12.5K. Unless, of course, we hit the next one, the next iteration during one of these times, then that would give more money to the funding pool. And the general idea is that, I think one of these is different, but I'll just switch it, is that half the money goes to the token engineering commons no matter what, and then the other half is split amongst the other commons. And maybe that's simple enough to explain, but
yeah, I mean, I understand it now, but I see why you're saying that it's like there is this question of do we do this or not.
Here's another question. If I'm a community that won this competition, but I'm not the token engineering commons, why does the token engineering commons get more funding than my community?
because that's the rules coming in. I mean, like, I don't think that's like going to be the biggest challenge, because It's
That's
like
the name of the
you
game.
get some money, but yeah, we're building this for the Token Engineering Commons. So, and we're our constituencies. You're lucky you even get this at all. It's kind of the direction I go with that, Like you're lucky you get any money.
Be grateful.
That's right. Be grateful you get this system. Like I think as long as the rules are clear up front, I don't think that's a problem.
Cool. So we will need to mention the Commons community competition in our launch strategy, which has to be renamed.
Oh, so it doesn't get any bigger with the Federation pool.
What doesn't?
The 20K for the funding pool donation.
No, it does. It's an additional 10K.
Oh.
So all of these are, which is a really nice addition for that Jeff added is additional. If you want to see a cumulative, it's easier to see it in the accounting overview spreadsheet, which maybe I could add a link to here.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, I have made it to the end of this doc and made some consistent changes all the way through. I think we've highlighted a few things that, like especially that funding pool, also to explain that community commons community competition. Wow, that's a mouthful.
CCC, baby. It's the CCC.
Was there anything else that really stuck out on this doc that you thought needed some particular focus? I think I've managed. Question. Iteration 6. What is a token network CAD module?
What if we call our product a .commons?
.commons.
Yeah, sorry, this is completely
Whoa.
not related, but I feel like it's a way of expressing like digital commons, but it's fun.
So that is like an iteration that's been hatched and is now like open. So like you can.
I was just thinking of it in context of that word we were debating at the beginning, where we were like,
Right.
like D-commons, I don't know,
Right.
call the other thing the stack.
Well, I like that as well, because when I say I use this infrastructure for Trash Hero, then I create trashhero.commons.
Yeah. We have to get that TLD. We'll need to see. I don't think there is a .commons, but like we definitely would need one.
So we are building infrastructure for people to launch .commons.
Yeah.
I like it as a first. It struck me with a good.
Yeah, as long as the only challenge is dots, and like polka dot, but I think that's easily overcome.
Yeah.
If other people like it, I'm okay with it.
I mean, it's when you say .commons, it's way more related to like Web 2 than it is to polka dot.
Yeah, for sure.
Or Web 1 or whatever that is.
I like it. I like it like I like the thing that Kai was saying, that we have give it things, it's fun and silly. I don't know. We'll see. The
only tricky thing is readability. Like if we're putting literally .commons, people might think it's like the end of a sentence and then.
No, I was thinking actually like DOT.
Well, then it gets really like dots, but because that's their currency. It's Polkadot's currency is DOT, and they're going to be doing a huge ramp up while we're doing this too, and they'll also probably want us to use their platform, which I would be totally into as well. By the way, I think that this system would work best on their platform with Polkadot. So. We'll see.
Polkadot.
But this is Name-a-thon. So as far as what is a token network CAD/CAD module, well, first off, the CAD/CAD module for iteration 6 is a TCR one, so my bad. But the iteration 5 is a token network CAD/CAD module, but it's basically like a CAD/CAD module that someone who wants to simulate like what will their ICO do, or like, have like it would basically be like a token network, where you can see, okay, if we have Binance here and our tokens listed on Binance, we have these decentralized exchanges, we lock our tokens, the tokens are vested, by the people for this long, and let's simulate the economy. We have this use case that's, it's like the basic module that people can build to simulate their own token economy.
Okay. Isn't that what CAD/CAD does? I'm just curious how is that separate from just like what CAD/CAD is? I feel like people are like, okay, I'm going to use CAD/CAD and I'm going to model my token network.
Well, they have to build everything from scratch. So this would be the module that would allow them to start with this basic token network module, and then they can add their little pieces more easily instead of starting from scratch.
Okay.
But in the end, this is definitely something I'm talking totally out of my ass, and we need to have that meeting with Z.
Yeah.
Question. Have we gotten quotes for the GiveItDApp integration pieces? Like
Yep.
quotes for the UX audit and
We did Michael and I and Andre did full like a deep dive in that. Yeah.
Okay. I see it listed on other things, but not on this.
What do you mean? Where are you looking?
Well, I was looking here.
On iteration 2?
2, yeah.
Yeah, that number came from a thing.
From all of these quotes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically the UX audit and then doing the bare minimum that we need to do for the escrow to work. So like the GiveItDApp portion, we probably will not launch for iteration 2. We probably won't launch the full like liquid pledging and all of that for this. This is just the bare minimum for doing the escrow piece, and hopefully we'll have more. But we'll do a full UX audit and a design for the entire system, but we'll only build and focus the pieces that are needed for the common stack. And then as we basically have a 10K a month fund from the common stack, as for every iteration that we add, we get 10Ks of redesign support that we can start implementing the other pieces, liquid pledging and like more cool pieces on top. So that's the Giveth side of it. But for all of these big pieces, I have a sheet of like where the money is, what the predictions are, and all these numbers are justified, including the legal requirements and project community management, which is like we need to start getting individuals like signed up to the salaries that we're predicting for them.
Yeah.
I see our token price in section 5 and section 6, iteration 5 and iteration 6 are not up to date. They're saying 1 cent to 2 cents.
Oh, this should be, yeah, you're right.
And same for section 4, just adding in.
Yeah, I mean, we can just get rid of the zeros.
So it's 10 to 25.
Yep.
Okay. Why am I still in comment mode?
Nice catch. Nice catch.
10 to 25 for all of them, yeah?
Well, 10 for the first two, it's 10 to 30. And
Yeah.
for the second two, it's 10 to 25. And for the last two, it's 10 to 20.
Okay.
But it's 10 to 20 or higher. You know, like we can go back to 25 or it might be 30 all the way through. Like it's all about giving us the space to decide what is best for according to CAD, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, like we need the space to design. And you know, the only reason this one has to be so high is so that people, if we only get to that point, the people who donated can still make a return. And also, just like the first two are gonna be a UX challenge, and we'll have, you know, less of a chance to succeed than the third and fourth one, which will also have some UX challenges and have less chances of succeeding than the fifth and sixth one. Although, you know, hopefully they'll all upgrade to these things. You know, that's like another piece of this, is that like this first commons iteration, it will see what happens with Giveth in iteration 2, and if things are looking well, then it'll upgrade. And then it'll see what happens with conviction voting in iteration 3. And if they want to change the way they're doing their proposals, which I'm sure they will, then it'll upgrade. And it'll add conviction voting, but probably not for like a few months after conviction voting is launched. And then, you know, and maybe even a full until iteration 4. Once they do iteration 4, you know, maybe they'll wait a month after iteration 4, and then they'll add conviction voting in iteration 4's conviction voting version, you know? And
Yeah.
iteration 3 will probably upgrade to iteration 4's conviction voting version.
Right.
You know? And so they'll all have the ability to upgrade, and we will hold their hand through that entire process. And we'll make sure that everything we build will be easy for the previous comments to upgrade to.
Cool. Okay. All right. I'm starting to run low on focus. I'm just wondering if there is anything else.
Nope. This was just an alignment. This was just an alignment. You know, this is, you know, once Z comes in, this shit is solidified, you know, on Monday. Like it's done. It's over. And we can start. We can, you know, like.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't mind taking my eyes off it and coming back one more time in a couple of days just to go over it again with a fine-tooth comb. But I think I'm starting to glaze over what I'm looking at here.
Yeah. Yeah, we should go get breakfast too.
Cool. Lots of suggestions in there to, and some comments that we can come back to in a bit.
So with the what was it, the funding pool donation thing, it seems like Coach B, I don't know, I feel like we need some more perspective from him on that complexity. Am I right?
Yeah.
Just type.
Cool. Well, cool. Then, well, thanks for hanging out, guys. I'm sorry it took so long.
No, it's fine.
I love
If you
hanging
guys,
guys over.
yeah,
Hey.
I was not focusing all the time, but I was like, it's just like I was listening to your voices. Like being in the same office.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. Lorelai, do you want to, because you guys want to get breakfast, do you want to do our call another time, or what do you want to do?
I mean, maybe like.
She can do the call. I'll bring her breakfast in.
Oh. Okay.
if you're focused, we can do it a bit later as well if you prefer.
No, I'm totally down. 'Cause I actually have like quite a lot of meetings in the next couple hours, so now is the best for me. As long as
Okay,
it's fed.
We'll figure out something.
good. You have your feeder sitting next to you.
Notice that live stream is still on.
Yeah, we'll move to a different room,
Okay, well,
and I'll stop the live stream.
definitely stop the live stream. You don't really have to move rooms, but
Stopping the live stream.
Not like